Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh man, it's been a while since we did a video like this. It's been a while since we had a great viral moment from a House hearing or a Senate hearing. Well, maybe not that long considering we were covering all the Trump nominations, but that's not exactly the same thing. But anyways, here we are again. We got Jim Jordan completely blowing this whole USAID thing wide open. Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger were just summoned to the House to testify, and holy moly was this event eye-opening. USA was supposed to be about America helping the world, gaining influence and favor with foreign nations so they could align closer with us than with China and other authoritarian regimes, but instead it turned into something completely different. Instead of making America stronger, USAID was apparently busy paying off people running the biggest disinformation ops in modern American history. Let me show you guys exactly what was exposed here. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let me show you guys this moment in Congress. It's a little bit of a longer clip than I usually play, but trust me, it will be worth every second. Just take a look at this.
Mr. Taibbi, do you have any idea how many people work at the United States Department of Treasury?
Oh, I don't. I'm sorry.
108,376. And part of the Department of Treasury, of course, is the Internal Revenue Service. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, big part, frankly. Big part. Thousands of people work there, too. And on December 24th, 2022, one of those 108,376 employees at the Department of Treasury decided they were going to start an investigation into you. Is that right?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And that just happened to coincide with the day you did one of the Twitter files. I think one of the important ones. I think it might have been the second one, second or third, but one of those important Twitter files. Is that right?
Yes, it was.
And then a few months later, you're sitting in that same seat testifying in front of this committee, and the very time you're testifying, another one of those 108,376 people knock on your door. Unannounced visit to your home, which, by the way, they've discontinued because of this issue and a bunch of other crazy things they were doing. Is that right?
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
Just for the record, they actually owed you money, right? You didn't do anything wrong. Is that
They
accurate?
did. They owed me quite a lot of money.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make that clear. But obviously, a way to intimidate someone who is focusing on this issue we're discussing today, right?
Yes.
Now, we just got an order from a judge. The judge in the Southern District of New York said that no political appointees or special government employees can have access to information. 108,376 people can have access to information, but the people the President of the United States selects, the guy who was elected by 77 million people, he can't preliminary injunction against the defendants during the pendency of this from granting any political appointees, special government employees from any access to that information. I don't know about you, Mr. Schellenberg, I find that kind of troubling. 108,000 people can do it, at least one of them. We got a federal government employees working hard on Christmas Eve, probably remotely working, going after Mr. Taibbi, but the President of the United States can't have people go in and look and see if we can save some money for the taxpayers. He can't do that according to this judge. Think that makes sense, Mr. Schellenberger?
It doesn't. I mean, my understanding is that the president controls the executive branch and the executive branch
Article
agencies.
2, Section 1, very first sentence, executive power shall be vested in the president, in a president of the United States of America. First sentence.
Yep.
Yeah, but this judge says, no. We got to trust the bureau. This is the fundamental issue. Do you trust the unelected bureaucrats, I think it was Mr. Tiffany and Mr. McClintock, or do you trust the guy who was elected by the people? And that's where I would rather put our trust in the people who they put in office to do these kind of things. Mr. Schellenberger, you mentioned that USAID, which has been in the news of late, spending taxpayer money on all kinds of stupid things, is also involved in the censorship effort. I want you to elaborate on that for the committee, if you would.
I mean, I think it's important to understand that USAID viewed this very holistically. And it's important, if you look at the Hunter Biden laptop case, which is an extremely important case to understand, because the FBI was weaponized, then it weaponized the Aspen Institute to brainwash the entire media. It wasn't just that they censored it. It was that they changed the perception of the laptop. They created the perception that it was something other than what it obviously was. And that's what these guys are trying to do. These are called information operations. And USAID has been in the process of taking over so-called independent investigative journalism around the world. And at the same time, then, training NGOs how to demand censorship. For example, Mr. Aaron's organization has been working to train organizations to so-called flag misinformation behind the scenes. By the way, it's one thing to criticize somebody publicly, which we should all be engaged in.
Yeah.
But this thing where you're skulking around
You do that all the
and
time.
secretly, yeah, that's what open democracy is. This thing of going out and like secretly flagging information behind the scenes and demanding censorship, that is such a That's completely an abomination. That is not what
I just want to be clear. You're saying USAID, your investigation is now engaged in this pre-bunking kind of concept and process that they did with the laptop story in the fall of 2020.
And it's the exact same approach as well, where often what they're doing, for example, with USAID, OCCRP, is that they're leaking intelligence from the intelligence agencies and not like WikiLeaks where they just dumped it, I think probably too much without the proper redactions, but they're strategically leaking it and then manipulating places like The Guardian and the New York Times to publish certain stories and control the whole investigative news process.
I got one thing from this interaction. I think the main point here, from the initial point of the IRS going after Matt Taibbi, right after the release of the Twitter files, to everything else, it's clear what these government agencies were up to. They were using taxpayer dollars to enforce the regime's interest. That seems to be an ongoing trend here. When Matt Taibbi was working on a story that exposed the government's censorship regime, well then immediately the Treasury, or the IRS, under the Treasury, made him a target. In other words, they used your money to fund an audit to go after him. That's using your money in an intimidation effort to silence a journalist, to control a story. And then, of course, falling in line with that, we go into what Michael Schellenberger just confirmed, that USAID was straight up funding the same kind of information operatives who worked overtime to kill the Hunter Biden laptop story. And of course, we all remember that, the bombshell that should have ended Joe Biden's campaign in 2020. Well, the people who grouped together to call it Russian disinformation were literally being paid with your tax dollars. USAID was supposed to be out there making other countries safer and healthier and more democratic, but instead they were bankrolling the left's censorship machine. I guess the Democrat Party and their bureaucratic wing were the real threat to democracy after all, the real threat to a free press and the First Amendment. It's funny how that works, how it's always projection, right? Donald Trump is waging war on the free press, that's all they ever freaking told us. But by doing what? Calling Jim Acosta fake news? Meanwhile, Democrats weaponize the IRS to go after a journalist who is simply exposing the deep corruption and connection between big media and Democrat politicians and Democrat operatives in the FBI and the CIA. And now, just like the Twitter files, it's all coming to light. We're seeing exactly how the cake is baked. Just last week, we saw how Politico took $8 million in 2024 alone, which they defended as, oh, well, you know, the government just happened to purchase 820 overpriced Politico Pro subscriptions. Yeah, okay. I'm sure the government can't operate without $810,000 Politico Pro subscriptions. I'm sure they get access to all kinds of tools that are so important in federal governance. Give me a frickin' break. But now, to make matters even worse, as Elon Musk is now exposing, it wasn't just Politico, but also Reuters, who supposedly raked in $9 million for a program that was called Social Engineering Defense and Large-Scale Social Deception. You know, has me thinking, I wonder if BuzzFeed was also on the take. Back in 2016, when the Democrats leaked the fake Steele dossier so they could run a fake media report to then justify their Russia investigation and everything else that followed. Taxpayer-funded information warfare, propaganda games, that's what this is. I mean, just think about what's being exposed. You have government agencies conspiring with the media, social media, and the intelligence community to influence elections, suppress the truth, and crush anybody who gets in their way. This isn't just bureaucratic incompetence and wasteful spending on DEI programs. We're talking about taxpayer-funded, full-scale operations to hijack American democracy and keep the Democrat regime in power. This is the scandal of a century, and now the truth is out. And you know, the left can go on and on screeching about conspiracy theories all they want, but we have the documents, we have the proof. And like I keep saying, this is just the very beginning. The house of cards has yet to really truthfully come crashing down, and when it does, boy, is it gonna be glorious. And it's probably gonna put a whole lot of things into very clear, sober perspective. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.